Hi guys, welcome back to my ranking series, and this time we're going to be discussing the Leprechaun movies. This is one series that I haven't watched fully all the way through, so over the past couple of days I've managed to watch all 7 of the movies so that I can rank them in the series, and it was a very hard task to do because I found myself kind of nodding off halfway through most of these movies, but I did get to watch them all and I did rank them, so here we go. So in last place at number 7 is Leprechaun in the Hood. This is the 5th installment in the franchise and it stars Ice-T and Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. I don't have anything good to say about this film, to be honest guys. The acting was terrible, the story was absolutely terrible. Warwick Davis couldn't even save this movie. This was one of the worst horror movies that I've seen in my entire life, and I've seen a lot of horror movies, as you can see I've got lots behind me. This was one of the worst that I've ever seen in my life. And at number 6 is Leprechaun 4 in Space. I literally watched this movie 2 days ago and I cannot for the life of me remember why it was set in space. I don't even recall seeing what year it was supposed to be set either. It looks like it's supposed to be set in the future, but again I can't remember if it said a year whatsoever. I know it was made in 1996, but the CGI was one of the worst I've ever seen. And just like Leprechaun in the Hood, the story was dreadful. It didn't serve a purpose at all to the franchise, and it didn't flow well at all either. I would say that the only redeeming thing about this movie was the cast. The cast was actually surprisingly strong. I had the likes of Debbie Dunnan, Jessica Collins, Miguel Nunez, Rick Peters, and of course Warwick Davis in the movie. And all of which were actually involved in decent projects at the time. And at number 5 is Leprechaun Back to the Hood. That's right guys, This is the 6th installment in the franchise and it features a young Keisha Sharp from the Lethal Weapon TV series and of course the ever-present Warwick Davis. The quality and feel of this movie was identical to Leprechaun in the Hood, but the reason I like this movie more and it's higher up on the list is the acting was slightly better. And the storyline was actually something I could follow, as well as some semi-decent death scenes. Apart from that guys, it is still a terrible horror movie and I would recommend avoiding it at all costs, unless you're interested in watching the full Leprechaun franchise. But like I said, I don't think any of these movies actually flow well together. They've all got their own separate storylines, so you could actually avoid this movie and you wouldn't miss anything in the franchise. And at number 4 is Leprechaun Origins. This was the latest installment in the franchise, and the story of the Leprechaun went through a bit of a freshening up. This is also the first movie in the franchise not to feature Warwick Davis. It was a ballsy move by WWE, who actually produced this one, and although it wasn't anywhere near the worst in the franchise, Warwick Davis was badly missed. I understand they tried to go for a serious horror, so Davis would look out of place, but they could have at least had Davis as a serious leprechaun in this movie. And the replacement leprechauns, or leprechaun, in this movie was kind of like something out of Alien. The acting was probably the best in the entire franchise, and the setting was decent, but you can't help but notice how badly the movie was made. And at number 3 is Leprechaun II. This is the first of the only 3 rewatchable Leprechaun movies in the franchise. For the most part the acting wasn't great, but I felt myself enjoying the continuation of the Leprechaun's backstory, even if there was a plot hole in almost every scene. In the first Leprechaun movie, I remember him mentioning that he was 600 years old, so that he would have been 600 years old in 1993, but in Leprechaun 2 he mentions that he was 1,000 years old, but that was back in the year 994 because it was set 1,000 years before at the beginning, but then it moves forward to 1994, so he would have been 2,000 years old. So he's went from going from 600 years old in 1993 to 2,000 years old in 1994, so that is a bit of a continuation error. And it's mistakes like that that makes you realise that you aren't going to be watching a great horror movie. And even though it's not a great movie, I find myself going back to this movie maybe around Halloween with some alcohol. And at number 2 is the original, Leprechaun. I found it difficult to choose my number 1 spot because both my number 1 and number 2 choices were very similar in comedy and horror, as well as the style of filmmaking. The main reason I chose this as my number 2 spot is because I felt like it didn't go anywhere and we were stuck in one location for most of the movie. It was funny to see the Leprechaun for the first time because we weren't sure what we were in for. We didn't know if it was going to be a comedy or if it was going to be a horror movie, and it was a kind of mixture of both. I think most people who hadn't seen this movie before would definitely check it out after watching Friends, after finding there was a young Jennifer Aniston in it. And in at number 1 is of course Leprechaun 3. I think it had all the lucky charm that the original had, but it just felt like more of a fun movie and it didn't take itself seriously at all. I know that most of the movies in the franchise didn't take themselves seriously, but this is the one that I think I had the most fun in. I think the first 3 movies in the franchise all played out and felt like episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark, especially this movie. There was an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark actually that featured the man turning himself into a leprechaun, and it just felt like this movie because there is a man in this movie who is turning into a leprechaun throughout the film. I think the kills in this movie were the most creative as well in the entire franchise, as well as the funniest. So that's it for the ranking of the Leprechaun series. It's something that I'm hopefully not going to go back to in the future. Like I said, the first 3 movies were actually watchable, and I think I would watch them again. They just have a kind of likability factor in a way, but they're not groundbreaking horror movies.
I smell some tea brewing.
Anyway guys, this is the 11th ranking series video that I've done. I don't know how many I'm going to do for this entire series. I'm potentially thinking maybe 16. That could change. It might be a little less, it might be a little more. And I'm thinking maybe my second series are going to change it up a bit. I'll probably still stick with horror, but I don't know if I'm going to be ranking movies. I might rank kills or I might rank moments in horror movies. I'll see what I'll do. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.